Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for joining. Sorry, it's a
Of
little
course.
frustrating thing to
No, it's
try and get
okay.
logged in. Incredible. Well, since you're here, we will get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Katie. I am the digital marketing and social media coordinator for SAI. Today's little Instagram live alumni panel is with one of our alumni and ambassadors, Shelby. Today's theme is mastering studying abroad and key tips for a successful term abroad. So we are joined by Shelby. She is a SAI ambassador. If you don't know, SAI ambassadors are a group of carefully selected students who have received a recently completed a SAI program. And the program provides alumni with the opportunity to share their own study abroad experiences with students, as well as build their knowledge of international education for their own future careers. So, welcome. Can you tell me a little bit more about yourself and the program that you did?
Yeah, so my home university is the University of South Carolina, but I studied abroad with SAI this past spring, 2026, and I studied in Barcelona.
Incredible. For background for you as well, I am also a SAI alum. I studied in spring 2017 in Florence, so I can also share in a little tips and from my own experience and from all of these as well um, for those. So if you are listening, you are more than welcome to send in some questions for Shelby that you might have in the comments, and we will answer those for you. But first, what are some tips that you might have for making the most of your study abroad experience? About anything. It could be a wide range of topics you can choose from.
Yeah, so if you're trying to maximize your experience, I would say definitely be organized. You're going to have to be more organized with your time at home because you're doing such a variety of things.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, this looked like having a separate Google Calendar where I was planning my weekend trips. I was planning my time to work on classes. I, of course, had my school classes in there, but everything is planned a lot further in advance than probably you're used to.
Absolutely. Do you have any tips on like cultural immersion into Spain or Barcelona
Yeah,
in general, rather?
yeah.
Just Spain.
As for me personally, I'm a Spanish minor, so it was really special for me that I was able to practice my language there. If you're not so interested in the language component, that's definitely not something to worry about. It wasn't a barrier at all.
Okay,
But I think just going places that the locals go, don't go to Starbucks for your coffee every morning, try something different and yeah, change it up.
absolutely. Incredible. Well, thank you. How did you manage when looking at like the beginning of your spring in well you started right at the beginning of January, so it's a
Yeah.
little different. But like so at the end of December, you had all those pre-abroad term jitters and things. How did
Mhm.
you manage any of those nerves or worries before heading abroad?
It was definitely a lot. I think the time before abroad was the hardest part.
Mm-hmm.
And most of it was just I knew my roommate going into it. I knew other people going abroad in other cities, and those are kind of the only people in the same shoes as you. So talking
Yeah,
to them about it was helpful. And I also just did all the research I could possibly do to make myself feel better. I was looking at all the SCI resources. I was looking at all the TikToks and movies and yes.
incredible. Was there anything that surprised you about local Barcelona culture?
I think the culture was more diverse than I was expecting. And then I also learned a lot about Catalan history in
Mm-hmm.
Barcelona, which is unique to the city. Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah, I don't blame you there. Um, okay, awesome. Well, and then a lot of people want some people are going into this with the thought of I'm just going to travel like
Mhm.
crazy. Other people are going, I have my specific credits I absolutely need to take care of.
Right.
So, on that side of things, what was the biggest adjustment you had to make academically between your abroad time and your home university?
So I kind of was on both ends of that where I'm
Sure.
trying to graduate early. I was really focused on getting those credits and staying locked in on those classes.
Mm-hmm.
So my main advice would be to focus on your classes during the week. Don't be like messing around too much during the week if you know that you're traveling that weekend.
Yeah.
And then also, you don't have to travel every weekend. The weekends that I stayed in Barcelona were some of my best weekends, and I don't regret it at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree. You need to. My biggest advice for people every time they ask, I'm like, stay in your hometown for at least a couple of weekends during your time
Yes.
abroad
Yeah.
so that you can explore. Okay. If you were to talk to yourself again, um, before, so almost a year ago, before
Mhm.
you studied abroad, what would be a piece of advice you wish you had received? It's a hard question
It is hard.
because there's so many different ways you can go with it. So,
Yeah. I think um going into it, I kind of knew a lot about how it would be because it's so common at my home university to go
mhm,
abroad. But just knowing that I'm not the only one in that situation, like it sounds almost frivolous to tell people that you're scared to leave or even coming home, that it was
mhm,
so hard coming home, but you're not the only one that's feeling that way. And all the people, all the friends that I made abroad had the same exact experience going into it. They were terrified leaving, coming
mhm.
home, they were terrified.
Yeah, and then with that, like I know you said you knew your roommate. Did you was it easy for you to make any other friends?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
My roommate had issues with her visa, so she came later, and I ended up making a
Interesting.
whole separate group of friends.
Forgot
And
about
most of
that.
them actually, yeah, yeah. So I was actually living alone for the first week,
hmm
which was amazing. But I, yeah, made a whole group of friends, and a lot of them go to my home university. I had never met them before, but we met at SAI orientation, and then most
hmm
of us went to the same abroad university as well.
Okay, incredible. Um, and then yeah, so just purely because you just briefly mentioned it about your about living alone, what was your housing like? Was it just the two of you, or did you guys have other roommates?
It was the two
Gotcha.
of us, and
Okay.
then another set of friends that had come into it, also from our home university, but we hadn't met them before. And then I lived on the outside of the city, so I would take a bus
hmm
or a train or something to class in most places. And I lived in an apartment, but it wasn't a huge apartment complex. I would almost say it was more of like an apartment within
Sure.
a townhouse. And I really liked it. It was a great size and it was a very local neighborhood. It wasn't super um,
Yeah. Too
young. You know, it
touristy.
was a lot of, yes, touristy. There you go. Yep.
Incredible. Yeah, I mean, I lived in a touristy part of town in Florence when I studied abroad, but I also had a lot of non-touristy people around me. Um, okay. And then on the opposite side of things from your housing, I have a few other questions that have come in about that, so we'll get back to it. But
Yeah.
um, how far in advance should someone plan for a weekend trip? Or do you think like have any suggestions on what weekend trips you should do from Spain?
Yeah. So are we thinking fall semester or just in general?
In general,
Okay.
but you can do it whichever.
Okay. So I think that most important to plan now or as soon as possible would be those big ones that everyone's going to want to be
hmm
going to. So in the fall, probably Oktoberfest, the Christmas markets, Northern Lights, you know, whatever
Yeah.
everyone wants to go do. If you're into the music scene, I also would look at what concerts are going to be in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that now and book that now. Other than that, I would say the earlier the better. I think I actually got a lot of bad advice before I went abroad that you can just book things the weekend of and it'll be so cheap, and it won't really. So the earlier
Yeah.
that you can book things, the better for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We had quite a few students this summer who made the trip up to London to see Harry Styles and in
Hmm.
London, and I was like, honestly,
Yes.
good for you. Like that's
Yeah.
a great
Once in a
trip to take.
lifetime. Yeah.
Okay, incredible. And then we had quite a few questions come in from students. So one of them was wanting to know how much Spanish do you think they will need to know, or should it just be conversational?
Need to know is zero. Almost everyone I spoke to speaks, excuse me, spoke English. And I would even go in somewhere and try to speak Spanish to them, and they would look at me and start speaking English back to me. But I think it's important just to make that effort. Going into it, I would learn a little bit of conversation, but you're going to learn a
Hmm.
lot there. And especially those daily conversations, ordering your coffee, talking to the bus
Hmm.
driver, those things you're just going to pick up. It's also a
Yeah.
little bit different in Barcelona because you're hearing a mix of Spanish and Catalan. And
Hmm.
so I was able to pick up some of that too, which is unique.
Absolutely. Yeah. When I studied in Florence, so on the Italian aspect, I did the same thing. I was teaching a lot, I was learning a lot of Italian, but then I would go and try and speak it. And in most places, I would just speak English.
Yeah,
But for the most part, all the classes are in English except for like the language classes.
right.
So you don't have to really worry about that there. Okay, so if you are, I know, so since your roommate wasn't able to arrive at the same time as you, you probably, I'm assuming, went traveled over by yourself.
Mhm.
So what do you have any advice over getting abroad and being in a completely new country, completely on your own? One of our students is curious because they are trying to make the most of the experience, but they don't want the unfamiliarity to really stop them from making the most of their time abroad.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think
Hmm.
it seems really daunting now too when you're thinking
Sure.
about getting over there and what am I going to do and trying to plan everything out. But once you're there, it's the only thing that you have to worry about. You don't have
Hmm.
to go to work. You don't have to, all you need to do is schedule out your time and see what you're going to be doing. So I think just embracing that, knowing that this is where you are in the moment, you have no one to answer to, and it's your time to explore.
Absolutely. Incredible. Back on the housing topic, how did laundry work for you? Did you have, I know most apartments have in-unit washing machine and dryer combo, or they just have a washing machine with a drying rack. What did you have? How did that work for you guys?
I had an in unit combination machine. Oh, no, I didn't. It was just a washer. I wish it was a combo. No, I just had a washer. So then I had a drying rack. I do feel like we ran into a little bit of an issue there where we would wash our clothes, and then if we all tried to wash our clothes in a row, there wasn't enough space on the drying racks. And you get used
Totally.
to it. We would hang our clothes around the dining room, and some people had clotheslines. We didn't, but we made it work.
Absolutely. And then did you have any specific hair tools that you brought with you from home, or did you just get some new ones there, or how did you go about the styling process of
Yeah.
toiletries and all the things that people are willing to pack?
So everything that doesn't blow air, I brought from
Hmm.
home and just used an adapter for that. So a curling iron, a straightener, a
Hmm.
blowout brush. But then I went to the store once I got there and got like a Dyson Airwrap dupe type thing, and
Sure.
I used that as my blow dryer.
Okay, incredible. And then when it comes to showers, did you bring your own towels? Did you bring your own toiletries? What do you suggest bringing? Of course, we'll get more in depth into all of the packing stuff
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
packing live, but just to give some quick tips.
I did not bring towels. There were towels in my
Mhm.
unit, which I think that might be specific to me
Yeah.
because I was living in a service department. So my sheets, all of my linens were taken care of
Mhm.
weekly, and I was super lucky with that. I did end up getting two of my own towels just to have.
Mhm.
That wasn't hard to find at all. And then as far as toiletries, I started off with just small travel sizes of what I like,
Mhm.
but I just bought new ones at the grocery store and it ended
Totally.
up being fine. I definitely wouldn't use a lot of your packing space for toiletries that you're not specific about,
Yeah.
but things that you are really specific. Like I love one type of lotion. I had my roommate bring that over, so stuff like that bring. But if you don't care about your body wash, yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I highly recommend packing stuff that if you are comfortable with it, bring it. If you want a towel or a blanket to make your bed feel a little bit more cozy or whatever, bring it with you to make you feel more comfortable for your time abroad. If you have specific hair products that you know you love and work for your hair, bring it.
Hmm.
Don't make yourself get frustrated over trying to find a new product. But if you don't care, I didn't care. I was just like, I just need my hair clean. I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. The blanket
So,
thing is a good point, though. Like,
yeah.
I did bring a blanket over for my bed. Anything that's important to you like that, that's
Hmm.
worth the space because you're there for a long time and there's
Yeah,
going to be moments where you just want a piece of home with you.
absolutely. And it helps with ease a little bit of the homesickness stuff too. So money wise, did you bring any euros with you to Spain before you arrived, or did you just get everything there?
I did bring a little bit, maybe a few €100, and they lasted me a
Hmm.
long time. I really didn't use cash for anything.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. It's very fun seeing what everyone's kind of money wise what they all do. I know for myself, I went to the ATM connected to the bank. Direct connection to the bank is the best way to do it because there's less transaction fees. But um, I would go to the bank and withdraw cash every week so that I had a budget of this is how much I can spend this week to
Mm,
be able to keep myself on track because
smart.
numbers are numbers,
Yeah,
eventually
that's
it gets
smart.
to zero. Okay. Well, and then on the packing front, do you have anything or can you recommend something that isn't necessarily commonly thought of when it comes to packing for a semester abroad? Um, I know for myself, I have a few things that absolutely don't. So we can also do it. Absolutely. Please, you do not need to bring this. If you don't, if you
Okay.
don't have any, yes.
Yeah. Things that they just don't have abroad, I would say bring. I'm a
Hmm.
huge gum chewer, so that was a problem for me. I
Hmm.
had to have my mom bring over a bunch of gum for me. Let's see, like liquid IV, that's pretty hard to find. People say Advil is different. I really don't think you need to bring many over the
Hmm.
counter prescription things with you.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, things you don't need to bring. Oh, also clothes. I think I was also kind of misinformed about that. I wish I would have brought more clothing
Sure.
basics,
Basics
just
for
to
sure. Yeah.
save,
Layering
save.
pieces are always great to
Yes,
bring.
exactly. Just to
Yeah.
save the money I spent shopping for trips.
Yeah. I always recommend bringing a pack, like the dual pack of Dayquil, NyQuil, just in case.
Hmm.
Everyone is inevitable of getting sick within the first
Hmm.
month of being there. So if you don't, you know, you're not when you're going to be so overwhelmed and annoyed by getting sick in the first place that you're not
Yeah.
going to want to have to go try and find medicine. So if you have something like that, you might as well bring it with
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
And then I always say like when I studied abroad, I brought my big giant DSLR camera and I didn't touch it at all the entire time.
Okay.
So it was just wasting space in my suitcase. I used my phone for all of my photos. But if you have a small digital camera that you want to use, feel free to bring
Yeah.
it.
So I did bring my big camera.
Yeah.
I did use it, but I
It also
found
depends. I wasn't
one of
taking
my
any photography
classes. Yes.
classes.
So that
Yeah.
is something that I also wasn't aware of. And I just signed up for a photography class. I thought it would be
Hmm.
fun. And then I realized I needed a camera. So I luckily already had one, but that too, you got to really be on top of that
Yeah,
stuff.
I wasn't taking any photography classes, so I was like, oh, this I'll just
I
bring it
did
for
this.
funsies and then
Yeah.
to use, and I definitely never used it. Absolutely. Well, um, did you another daily life use? Did you use a phone plan or did you use an eSIM or how did you go about communicating?
I used a physical SIM card.
Okay.
So my phone that I usually use wasn't paid off or unlocked, so I couldn't
Mhm.
have a different phone plan on it. I ended up just buying an older iPhone to get a local plan on, and that was super easy. I walked into a Vodafone shop and they set me up, and I think it was $9 or $10 a month, and that plan was perfect for me. It worked everywhere but Morocco. And yeah, I did have a different phone number, so that was a little bit of a struggle, but all my contacts synced over. It was super easy.
Okay. Yeah, I used my phone plan, but my regular plan, but I kept my phone on airplane mode until I absolutely needed it.
Okay.
It was my for myself. I mostly used it for, I used Wi-Fi whenever I could. But then I mostly just used it to like when I was traveling to check in with my parents to let them know that I was safe. Things like that. Use a map if I needed to download a map really quickly.
Right, right.
That kind of thing. Okay, on the travel aspect of it, do you have any recommendations for travel bags? That is a big question we got submitted this morning.
From memory, I couldn't tell you what they're called. I will say,
Sure.
do not get a cow pack. I know that's common. It's the big shiny one. I saw a lot
Hmm.
of people have to pay for those oversized. But if you just go on Amazon and make sure it says Ryanair approved overhead, that's fine. It's really
Sure.
small. I didn't experience a lot of flight attendants checking bag sizes. Excuse me, but when they did, the oversized fee is like $75. So it's better to be
Sure.
safe than sorry with that. You definitely get crafty with layering.
Absolutely. And when you went over in January and left, did how many bags did you bring with you? I know I brought one big suitcase, a carry-on, and a backpack.
I
And
did the
that
same
backpack
thing.
had everything that I used for the day, and then I used that backpack for my school stuff. So, what
Okay.
did you use? The same?
I did the same thing. I
Yeah.
had a big checked bag, and then a carry-on suitcase and my weekend backpack I used as my backpack. My school bag, I just used a small shoulder tote bag.
Sure.
Um,
I studied abroad 10 years ago, so
yeah,
it
so
was
I
cool to
just
use
need
a
my
tote
little
bag then.
laptop, but yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. And then on the uh did you go on any SAI excursions or Viva experiences or anything, and what were some of your favorites?
I did all of them, I think.
Might as
I loved
well.
them. My friends and I really liked signing up for them together. And it got fun because it was the same kids that would kind of sign up for them a lot.
Sure.
So we got to know each other. But I did a few wine tastings. I did a day trip to Montserrat. I know that there was a pottery making class. I didn't make it to that one. Um, I can't even remember. I did a few tours, which was really cool. When we first got
Mhm.
there, we did a tour of the city, but I also did a modern architecture tour, which was
Sure.
cool to hear about all of the Gaudi houses. Um,
Did you guys do I know
oh, with
it
a
did you
tapas
do
making class and a paella
yes.
making class. I did both of those. That was a lot of fun, and the food was amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's always fun to learn what their local dish is and learn how to
Yeah,
cook it.
how to cook it.
Um, And then the other thing I know in this past year, I've seen flamenco classes in Barcelona. I've also seen the scavenger hunt. They'd like to do that one. I'm trying to think of if there's anything else. I'm sure there's more. There's a
I
million,
know.
and
I'm
I'm like
sure there's more.
I'm sure
Just
I'm missing them.
yeah.
But I know in Italy there is of course cooking classes. There's street food tours, all sorts of different places all over, and then also in Paris they do a tour to Fontainebleau. They do a tour, a whole bunch of different really fun tours. In the fall semester in Paris, they do sometimes they will do, depending on if the students are interested in it or not. They will do a haunted tour around the city of basically
Um,
like, oh, let's go to like the historical cemetery and like you can learn about the people that are there and that kind of thing around Halloween, which is so unique. But
yeah.
I don't know if I would be like
Yeah. That would be
scared to
fun.
do that or not.
They did
Um,
do as well. I just remembered beach day trips. So
yes.
the day trips were there was also a 3 countries in one day trip, and
Hmm.
the day trips are nice on the weekends that I wasn't traveling because I could go on a day trip that was included with my tuition.
Absolutely. Did you have any field trips for any of your classes?
Oh yeah, it was
Yeah.
the most field trips I've taken since I was in elementary school. But that was really fun. All the museums I went to, I definitely wouldn't have gone to
Hmm.
without having the class access. Most of the time, it was free with class. So, yeah, I went to the Catalan History Museum,
So
the
cool.
Barcelona Maritime Museum, a few others I just can't remember. And then with photography too, I explored a lot of neighborhoods that I wouldn't have otherwise gone to, which was cool.
Love. Yeah. And when I studied, some of the field trips that I went on were for my culture, food and culture class. I did, of course, there was a wine tour. There was a day trip to Parma and Modena to learn how they make Parmesan cheese and balsamic vinegar, which was really cool. My science class was chemistry and the visual arts, and we went to a bunch of different churches to look at frescoes and learn how that they were painted, things like that. So there's a lot of really cool field trips included with all of the classes, which I love.
Yeah. Yep, it was
Um,
even cool hearing about. I had friends who studied in Florence through SAI and hearing
yeah.
the things that they were doing, and they were like, "Oh, you're doing a wine and cheese tour with SAI. I'm doing a wine and cheese." I was like, "Yeah, yeah,
In over the summer months in Rome, they'll do a kayaking trip on like down to the one of the lakes in close to Rome, and then in Sorrento they will also do a kayaking tour in the through the bay, which is really fun as well. So gotta love it. There's a lot of wellness classes as well. In Florence, there's some yoga
yes,
classes. I know we've done yoga on the beach in Barcelona before,
yeah."
so all sorts of really, really cool little things there. So, do you have, well, before we close out, if anyone is in here and has any questions for Shelby, feel free to comment them below. If you're not able, you can't think of something, just send me a DM on here. We can send Shelby any questions that you might have for her. Um, but do you have any other advice before we wrap up for any prospective students before they head abroad?
I think before, like I said before, that month or 2 months before you go abroad is or was for me at least more stressful than my whole entire time abroad. And that's just because I wasn't in it yet. Get the whole visa process so much as not really something you have to deal with while you're there. My other advice would be if there are trips that you know you want to go on now, start booking them now, especially if you want to fly or take high speed trains there. Book them now because I ended up taking some unpleasant bus trips when the trains got all booked up. So,
That's fair. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining and hanging out with me for the last 30 minutes.
Of course.
Thank you, everyone who's in here, for joining us today. Special thank you, of course, to Shelby, who shared such incredible information and advice. Of course, also, if you have any other questions, our admissions team is always available to answer any of your questions. And our next Instagram live session is going to be on Monday at 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. And we are going to be talking all about budgeting. So we will be in there as well. And you can send in any of the questions about money. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Shelby.
Of
And
course.
I will see everyone next week.
Bye.
Bye.